Eclair Makery, and today I'm going to be showing you how to crochet my Starburst Quilt Square. This is a corner-to-corner crochet quilt block that is made using DK weight yarn and a normal corner-to-corner crochet stitch. You can also make this in worsted weight with a half double crochet corner-to-corner stitch. And I have made mine in a temperature blanket version, but I also have a patchwork version available for this as well. Before I start showing you how to make this, be sure to hit the subscribe button below and like this video, and let's go ahead and get started. To make this corner-to-corner quilt square, you're going to need a few different things. I am making this quilt square in a temperature blanket style, so I picked my two colors that were the lowest temperature of the month, and it's this light blue and this nice deep purple color, and then I have white yarn for the background. I'm using Knit Picks / Recrochets Swish DK weight. I also have available the pattern in the worsted weight yarn as well if you'd like to use that instead. This is a great project to use up some scrap yarn that you might have in DK weight, but this is just the yarn that I'm using. Super soft, highly recommend it. You'll also need a size I 5.5mm crochet hook, and then you'll also need some scissors so that you can cut your yarn when you are making your yarn bobbins or when you are just needing to switch your colors. So these are all the supplies that you will need. Before we get started on making the square, we first have to make our yarn bobbins. So I am going to look at my chart here and see, okay, there's a good portion of this purple color, so I won't need very many yarn bobbins of this one. I will at the beginning, but then I can switch to just using this main skein here. But for the blue, I will need more yarn bobbins because they are spread out. So I'm going to make about 2 yarn bobbins for this blue yarn, and then just 1 or 2 for this purple yarn. So basically when you make one, you can either use a bobbin like these from We Crochet. You can wrap the yarn around these and then that holds it, or you can just do a little tiny mini ball of yarn. And now these don't need to be too big because you're not doing too many stitches with these different bobbins before you're switching colors, but I like to do just like a good sized portion one, that way if I need to switch it and move it around that I can. But I just like to wind up my little balls of yarn and get those all ready before I even start the pattern, so that then that way when I get to the colors I don't have to worry about it. So go ahead and make the bobbin amount that you would like to, and then we'll get started on making the pattern. Before we get started on our square, I wanted to show you how to use my temperature blanket block chart if you are doing a temperature blanket version of this pattern. So this is a chart where you get to fill it out based on your temperatures for your area. This is for the whole month of January 2020, and you'll see here on my iPad I've gone ahead and filled it out, but I wanted to show you kind of how I did this on my chart. So what I did was I started here in the bottom. This was basically my day 1. So this is my January 1st and then my January 2nd. And then I went back across like this and just did it all the way up. There are 31 spots here, so you will be able to do all of your different days and have a little square, a little box for each one of your daily temperatures. So the parts that are outside of the outline, those are my main colors. So I used a white yarn for my background there. And then once you keep track of your daily temperatures, then you can fill in your chart. So for mine, this one was the low was below 30 degrees, or in the 30 to 39 range. So then I just color this like that. And then since my 4th day here was also had the low of in the 30-degree range, then I color that blue as well. So however you color these is totally up to you. You could wait till you have all the data at the end of the month so that you can have each of your blocks more evenly spaced color-wise, or you can do it kind of like how I did on here, where I didn't matter where the colors were put, I just went back and forth all the way up to the top. So you could have it be where all of your blues surround the middle, if you're using purple, all the purples go on the outside. The way you arrange each date is up to you. You just want to make sure that you get every single date for this block. But if you are using the patchwork version of this quilt block, then you don't have to use a star at all, and you can just use the pre-filled one that I have already created. So now that it's time to get started on my block, I am going to begin with my main color here and do those first few rows on my square before I start to use my colors. Now before we even begin our first square here, I want to mention that if you are using DK weight yarn, then you will be doing the following, what I do, where I have the normal double crochet corner to corner stitch. But if you are using worsted weight yarn, then you will do the half double crochet corner to corner stitch. So just be aware of that when you're making it. You can still use the same graphs, but it is just important to know how to match the gauge for this square so that you get the same size using both DK weight and worsted weight yarn. Okay, so we can now get started. So what you're going to do is start with a slip knot, and then we're going to begin like you do with every corner to corner crochet project, where we will start by chaining 6 stitches, and then we go down to the third chain from the hook, or the fourth chain from the hook, which is right here. We yarn over, insert our hook, and do our double crochet. And we do 1 double crochet in each of the rest of the chains all the way up to the slip knot. So now that we need to do some increases, what we'll be doing is we're going to start the same way we did before, where we're going to do a chain 6, and then we are going to flip our work like so. And then you will work in these 3 chains right here. So you're going to skip the first 3 and go down to these 3 here below those ones, and do your double crochets. And then once you have that square finished, then we are going to join it to this one we did before. So we're going to take our crochet hook, go on that first double crochet that we did, and then do a slip stitch through that to join these 2 squares together. So now we have 2. This is the first row, and this is our second row, and so we need to do 1 more square to finish off our second row. So you do your next square by chaining 3 stitches, and then we're going to work in this chain 3 space from the very beginning. So we will do 1, 2, and 3 stitches, and then we've got our second row finished. So you will just, while you create this whole pattern, you're going to just be doing a variation of this until you get to the decreases after you've gone to the corners that go directly across the diagonal middle. So it'll be the top right corner, and the bottom left corner will be then where you start doing your decreases after those. So you'll just keep repeating that same process of doing a chain 6 and then making your squares. You always do your squares, one on your starting chains, another on the next square, and so on until you reach the end of your row, and then you repeat that process. So go ahead and do this method till you get to your color changes that we need to do. So I have now gotten to row 8 on my pattern and just finished row 7. And row 7 was a right side row, so all odd rows are going to be right side rows, and then even rows are always worked on the wrong side. So we started up here, went all the way down here, and so now we'll be flipping our piece over to this side so that we can start working along here. So you'll see here on row 8, it starts with 1, one white square, then goes to the blue, then we do 1, 2, 3, 4 white squares, a purple, and then a white on top. So we are going to start by doing our chain 6. Then we are going to take our yarn over, come to this 4th chain from our hook. Then we're going to do a double crochet, go to the next one, do a double crochet, and then one more double crochet. And when we are finishing up this last square, we are not going to finish off this stitch with our white. We are going to take our blue yarn here, or any color that you're using, and then we are going to attach this color. So how we attach this color to make it seamless and that you can't really tell that there's been a switch in colors at all, we are going to finish off our stitch like this. This is a often used crochet technique. This is my favorite technique for changing colors. So then we just take our yarn and yarn over, pull it through, then you pull on this white yarn to tighten that up, and then we will do our slip stitch through this 3rd double crochet right there. We'll slip stitch like this, and then we can chain 3 and do our normal stitch. So because we are going to go right back to that white, we are going to be carrying this yarn. And what I like to do too is I like to carry my end that I just attached as well. That way I don't have to weave it in later, and then we are able to just continue working on without having to add anything else. So we'll do our normal 2 double crochets here, then do 1 more, and then we'll do the same thing on this square, where we'll finish off that stitch by switching back to our white yarn. So we'll finish it off like that, then pull our blue, and then we don't have to carry this yarn at all because we're not going to use it again right away until we come back over here, and then we'll be carrying it a little bit. So then we're going to do our normal stitches for a couple little squares until we get to our purple. So just finishing up our 4th square here, and we're going to switch to our purple yarn. So we'll pull that through and then tighten that white. Then we'll do our, I'm getting all tangled there. Then we'll do our slip stitch into that 3rd double crochet right there and pull that purple like that. Do our 3 chains. And then our normal stitch, and remember to carry the white yarn there because you're going to be using that in the next square. And then we will do this last one and switch back to the white yarn. And then do our last square here. And there we go, we've got our first row with our color work done. So now we are going to start our next row, and remember, when you are working on the wrong side, you want to always have your yarn ends be on this side. So the yarn ends when you work on the wrong side will be facing you. When you work on the right side, your yarn ends will be behind your work. And by doing this, you're able to make sure that no weird ends stick out, and it provides a clean look because you're able to just keep all the color changes on the back side of your work. So now I'll show you how to do the color changes on the right side. It's the same exact thing, just done in a different direction. So we'll do our 2 squares here with the white until we get to the purple spot. So one thing I recommend is getting some sort of marker to either color in your rows so that you know which one you're working on. You can also get some sort of graph reader, and then that way you can have it move up each time you do a row. I often will just have my chart in Stitch Fiddle, and then I will use their progress tracker because that lets me know which row I'm on, and then I can keep track of which squares that I need to focus on. So we're gonna do on this next round of row 9, we're gonna do 2 white squares. And then on our third here, we're going to switch to the purple. So we'll keep our white yarn right there. Come over here, grab our purple yarn, and then tighten that white. And then we will do that slip stitch into that third double crochet. And then we will carry the white still, but we're gonna hold it up here to this chain 3 from the last round. Then we'll do our 3 chains and then crochet around that white yarn so that we can carry it. And then have this right here. And then finish off this stitch with the white yarn so that we can go across and get to our blue spot again. So on this row, we will be going from here, and then we are going to come down to this blue one right here. So we will be, you can either add a new bobbin in at this point right here. I would recommend doing a new bobbin right there. Or you can just pull this yarn all the way up to this point. I'll show you how to do that. So we'll just do 1 square of the white here, and then chain 3, do our normal square here, oops, and then on this last stitch, so you can either take your yarn, make a yarn bobbin for that part, or you can also, sometimes what I'll do when I'm really lazy is I will pull the yarn across all these stitches, and then I will just crochet around it as I work. So you want to make sure if you do this that you don't have it be too tight. So if you just don't want to cut another little ball of yarn to make a yarn bobbin, you can just do this, and then I will just, as I'm working on this, I will just crochet around it, still carrying my white yarn until I get to that point, because there will be some more white yarn right after this. But this is just one of my lazy tricks that I do when you don't want to do a lot of work. So you can either do your new yarn bobbin, and it's really up to you just to decide how you like it, how you like to work with the yarn color, because then if this way will use up more yarn. So if you did it this way, you will have to carry the blue yarn all the way back up to this point right here. So it's just going to be 1 stitch because we're going to do our next blue right here. But this is just one of those things of, if you decide to do this, you just want to make sure that you have enough yarn to be able to carry that as you're working. So then you'll just crochet around these 2 strands of the blue, the one that you carried, so that way it will hide it on that side and won't catch on anything or won't become too tight. But this is just one of my little things that I do sometimes. But I would recommend doing more of the bobbins because like when you switch to here, you're gonna still have to crochet around that stitch right there. Oops, forgot to switch to my blue right there. So then we'll switch back to our blue. So you will still have to crochet around this one when you're using the blue. So sometimes if you just don't like carrying yarn, don't do this. You can just do the yarn bobbin way, and then this will prevent more tangles from happening. So if you don't like tangled yarn, then this might be the way that you want to do it. So basically the whole rest of the square is just made using these techniques where you're just switching the colors till you get to the very end, and then just keeping track of your square as you make it. until you have the full snowflake starburst pattern. So I really hope that you have fun making that. So before this video is done, I wanted to make sure that I showed you how to do the decreases on here. So when you are doing these edges along the top and left side, that you are able to finish off your square. So with doing decreases in corner to corner crochet, what you're going to be doing is, instead of doing a chain 6 and then creating a new square, what you do is you take your hook and you slip stitch 3 along those stitches that you just did. Just like this. There we go. And then once you have finished those 3 slip stitches, instead of doing a chain 6, we are going to do a chain 3. So then by doing this chain 3, then we are able to do our square and then proceed along this row as normal. So then once you get to this square right here, you are going to join this last square you do in this section and with the corner right here, and then you'll do what I just did here but on the other side of your work, and you just do that all the way till you finish the square. So you do the same exact normal corner to corner crochet stitch, you just don't do that chain 6 to start a new square, and that's essentially just how you do this. And once you complete all the decreases, then you will have your finished Starburst quilt square. So mine once again was done in a temperature blanket style, and so it has these varying colors all over it. You can of course make this however you would like with whatever colors you want to. Be sure to check out the crochet along for this whole entire blanket and the link in the description. We've got fun giveaways, a Facebook group, everything just so that we can have fun. And you can also get this block along with 11 other quilt blocks that will be one for each of the rest of the months in this year. So I hope that you liked this video. Be sure to like it and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any more. And I can't wait to see what you create. Thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to like it below if you enjoyed watching it, and hit the subscribe button if you never want to miss out a video from me. And also check out my other videos and tutorials on my channel. See you next time.